Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. My name is Tomasio Robinson, and I'm the 2020-2021 Student Body President here at Francis Marion University. And I'd like to formally welcome each and every one of you to Diversity Summit 2020 in America for All. Today's event is being streamlined as a part of the Diversity and Inclusion series that the university has been streamlining this academic year. Today, you will hear from a panel of professionals who are well respected and ranked in each of their fields. As we progress throughout the program, I'd like to ask that we all maintain social distancing inside the building and that you all remember to wear your mask. Again, on behalf of the Francis Marion University Student Government Association, I would like to formally welcome you to Diversity Summit 2020 in America for All. We will now have tonight's purpose by SGA Senator Kiera Osborne.
Diversity Summit 2020 in America for All is an opportunity to give members of the FMU Patriot community an outlet to gain a greater awareness of how real-world issues like racism, discrimination, and sexism impact our society. Now more than ever, it is important for those with these unique experiences and stories to use their voices to share how the intolerant actions and behaviors of others have affected their time in sports, business, education, journalism, and in other important areas of life. It is through their bravery and courage that we learn and can work to make a better tomorrow. We invite you to listen to each panelist as they provide their perspectives and experiences from different facets of society. It is our goal that after listening to their experiences and stories, we all can help make a more diverse and inclusive campus, community, and society.
We will now have the introduction of our panelists by SGA Senators Joy Berry Campbell, Michele Montori, and Malachi Dawson.
Tanya Brown is originally from Bennettsville, South Carolina. Miss Brown grew up watching News Channel 15 and remembers almost all the past reporters and anchors. She became inspired to become a journalist after a television reporter spoke to her seventh grade class. Miss Brown is a graduate from Morris College, where she receives a Bachelor of Arts degree in Communications and is a general assignment reporter at WPDE News Channel 15. She has been reporting stories out of the PD for nearly 20 years. When Tanya isn't meeting deadlines, she's speaking to community groups and churches. She enjoys talking to youth and helping them when needed. Tanya lives in PD with her husband. She looks forward to continuing to tell the stories of the PD. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's all give a round of applause for Miss Tanya Brown.
Good evening. Mr. Orlando Hudson is originally from Darlington, South Carolina. He attended Darlington High School, where he was a three-sport standout in baseball, football, and basketball. In baseball, he was the Player of the Year and an All-State selection. After high school, Hudson went on to play baseball at Spartanburg Methodist College. Mr. Hudson's played Major League Baseball from 2002 to 2012 with the Toronto Blue Jays, Arizona Diamondbacks, Los Angeles Dodgers, Minnesota Twins, San Diego Padres, and Chicago White Sox. Hudson is known for his fielding abilities and for making spectacular lunging catches and diving stabs at grounders. His defensive talents were recognized in 2005 when he won his first American League Gold Glove Award while with the Toronto Blue Jays. Outside of baseball, Mr. Hudson founded the CATCH Foundation, an organization that seeks to provide resources and a support system for youth coping with autism. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Mr. Orlando Hudson.
Mr. Brendan L. Johnson is a native of Darlington, South Carolina, where he received his high school diploma from Darlington High School in the year of 2009. After completing high school, Mr. Johnson accepted a band scholarship offered to attend Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida. While at Bethune-Cookman University, Mr. Johnson had the pleasure to serve as a section leader for the marching band performing at the Super Bowl, the Ellen Show, and other national events. Additionally, Brendan launched the first BCU Male Empowerment Summit, hosting national figures such as Smokey Norfolk, Marvin Winans, Roland Martin, Donnie McKirkland, Tracy Martins, and others. Mr. Johnson also served as the third Mr. Bethune-Cookman University. After receiving his degree from Bethune-Cookman University, Mr. Johnson continued to work at Bethune-Cookman University, serving as the coordinator of Minority Male Initiative until the spring of 2015. Mr. Johnson returned home to Darlington, South Carolina in the summer of 2015 to occupy the position as the director of bands at Darlington High School. Under the direction of Mr. Johnson, the Marching Falcons have grown from a membership of 35 to more than 200 students. Respectfully and proudly, Mr. Johnson has sent over 140 seniors to college receiving both band and academic scholarships. The Marching Falcons have received local as well as national recognition for their outstanding performances. Because of the impact that Mr. Johnson has made in the Darlington community, he was awarded a key to the city of Darlington in 2006 by Mayor Gloria Hines. Mr. Johnson received 2 bachelor's degrees from Bethune-Cookman University in music education and other degrees in liberal studies. Mr. Johnson also has his master's of education degree from Anderson University. Mr. Johnson plans to begin his doctor's degree in education starting this upcoming January. Mr. Johnson has been married for 2 beautiful years to Ms. Tempers Johnson, who currently serves as an English teacher at the Darlington County Virtual Academy. Mr. Johnson is a proud member of the South Carolina Band Directors Association, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Sigma Alpha Phi National Honor Society of Leadership and Success, and Phi Mu Alpha Fraternity of America Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's all give a warm round of applause for Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. Before we introduce our moderator, Tanya Brown will be a few minutes late. We will now have the introduction of our moderator.
Professor Adelia Ellis primarily teaches public speaking, and in the spring will be teaching a course on the history of Afro-Latin dance and music for the African and African American Studies program. In addition to teaching, she is also a business owner, Aroha Afro-Latin Dance Company, and executive director of Aroha Arts Collective, an arts and social action initiative. Through the second organization, she offers a yearly event, the Convergence Symposium, and an online course for white and white-passing individuals committed to anti-racism work. our moral imperative. A revolutionary change in white America. Professor Ellis was born in Hartsfield and grew up between Darlington, Florence, and British Columbia, Canada. She is a member of the Abahe faith, a religion that spans the world and whose central principle is the oneness of humanity. She holds a bachelor's degree in history and a master's in teaching from Coastal Carolina University. While in college, she traveled to East Africa and Southern Africa. After college, she lived in South Korea, where she worked as a teacher for 6 years and visited many countries. After South Korea, she taught in Abu Dhabi, UAE for 2 years before returning to the United States. The blend of her spiritual beliefs, her upbringing in rural South Carolina, and international travel has served to deepen Professor Ellis' understanding of how intimately connected we are as a human race. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's all give a round of applause for Professor Adalia Ellis.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm looking forward to having this panel discussion and hearing your responses to these really thoughtful questions that the students have put out to you. And so we'll just go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first question is, how would you define racism, discrimination, and sexism? Loaded. And whoever wants to start.
I started.
Okay.
Sexism definitely can go between different values in different ways. It can also go towards just as much as towards men as it can as women. We have seen it that women couldn't vote, especially black women. We've seen it that certain women couldn't be in certain positions, high positions. We've seen racism because as African Americans, since we've been brought here 401 years ago, we've seen what we've been going through, what we're still going through. Things are getting a little better, but we're still fighting as a people, still fighting as a community. I don't want to get too in depth because I don't want to run nobody out of here, you know. But we definitely come a long way from where we've been, especially with our beautiful, black women have been getting high-powered jobs, getting high-paying jobs. Their voices are being heard. They're starting to do bigger things in the government. They're starting to run a lot of corporate businesses, which is unbelievable. So with that being said, we do have a long way to go, but at the same time, we still have sexism and racism and prejudice and all that in one.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If racism, sexism, and what was your other word, ma'am?
Discrimination.
Discrimination. So discrimination, in my opinion, basically sums up these two words. I'm sure that all of us can witness and attest that we've witnessed much of this during present day. I've never witnessed much of sexism and racism during the time that we're in right now. I can remember getting married to my wife. We were in our early 20s, and I did not know the amount of resistance, the amount of pressure, the amount of discrimination that women went through until I married a young woman myself. And the amount of jobs, I watched what she had to put on her resume in order for her just to get a phone call. I watched what she had to say in certain interviews. I watched how she had to raise her hand to be recognized. I watched how people paid attention to her in grocery stores. I watched how when she gave an opinion in meetings, some people brushed it off, some people acknowledged it. And I noticed how she was so demanding. Her presence is demanding. Her character is demanding because of the lack of attention that a lot of women do get. And there are times, I'm not sure if a lot of people pay attention, but I was born and raised in the church. And I always used to ask my father, how come it seems like if there's a women pastor, it seems like only women would gravitate or attend that church. And it's because of the fact that I realized later that a lot of women in churches, a lot of people don't know this, but you know, racism and sexism, it's a lot of us operate in it without knowledge. We have no knowledge or understanding that we're operating in it. Why? Because we think that most of the things that we do is traditional. We think that this is how we've been raised and brought up. And so there are a time in church where there are some churches that believe that women should sit down and not say anything. They should not sit on the pulpit. They should not give guidance. They should not give be given any form of leadership role. So I believe that discrimination is a huge factor in both of these words in regards to both racism and sexism, and that it is executed without us even knowing.
Thank you very much. You're speaking to that systematic and the systemic discrimination and racism.
Definitely.
That it's like it's in the air we breathe,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Hi, Mrs. Brown. We're good. Would you like me to pose this question to you, or do you want we can move on to the next one if you'd like?
Oh, it's up to you.
Okay, so I'm gonna pose it to you because it'd be nice to hear your response to it. So the question was, how would you define racism, discrimination, and sexism?
Maybe I should have chosen to go on to the next one. Sorry about that. I apologize, but I had a live shot. I had a couple of live shots, and I was trying to get here, and then I got behind a situation with the police. I wasn't in the situation, unfortunately, someone else is. But I define racism as a position when a person mistreats a person because of their skin color. I've been discriminated against before, so I know what it's like. It's not a good feeling. And I don't think any of us ever want to be in that position. Orlando and I talked about it, I don't know, now it's been about 5 or 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah, probably about 5 years ago.
Yeah. And I remember how upset you were about your situation.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's just a bad feeling. And what was the other part of the question?
The definition of sexism and discrimination.
Well, to me, discrimination is racism.
Right.
It's just another way to say it. Discrimination is when you treat a person, you don't treat a person fairly based on some bias that you have against them. That's the best way that I can describe it. And sexism,
That's
when
perfect.
when I think of sexism, I think of discrimination against a person because of their sex. For example, you were the next best person in line for the job, but you didn't get it because you were a woman, you know, or you didn't get the position because, you know, you weren't a good-looking woman, or you were just, you know, someone average or something. That's kind of how I look at it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It was nice to have your input on that. So thank you for
Oh, you're welcome.
pushing through, even though it was a little flustering.
You're welcome. I'll
Thank
turn
you.
my phone off.
So we're going to move on. So our next question is, in your respective fields, have you ever experienced racism, discrimination, or sexism? How did you handle the situation? If you've experienced it in your field, how did you handle it?
Well, in my field, it's not too many African Americans that played the time I came when I first was a rookie back in the early 2000s. In the majors, there's a lot of African Americans, and as time goes on, we see more Latinos, which they are black. Dominicans and Venezuela, they're black, but we talking about African Americans. Not too many African Americans in major leagues. You look at the numbers today, it's like 2% in all of baseball. So I've seen a lot of guys. It never was against me, but I have seen it in Major League Baseball where I've seen black guys didn't get the opportunities when healthy that I've seen a Caucasian male get when they were injured. I've seen that with my own eyes. And I tell you what, ever since, sad to say, that there are all these just senseless killings this year has opened up Major League Baseball eyes to see. And MLB has been doing all kind of Zoom calls and been doing things for Black America and even the black kids that play in baseball. But it had to take these senseless killings for that to open our eyes to see that there have been opportunities that was missed. and we're the only sport that says we must interview a minority. You don't have to hire them, just interview them. You know, so if you just interview, and that's sad to say. So NFL, NBA, they hire minorities and they interview them all the time. But in baseball, you have to interview a minority. And we still have teams in MLB today that don't have any African Americans on a team. Wow. And then we wonder why the numbers are so low. You know, and it's hopefully it'll get better. Things that we're trying to put in place. We're now seeing, I work in the front office now with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And now we have hired 3 more African-American girls, 2 from the south side of Chicago, of all places. You know, I'm like, hey, that's what I'm talking about, you know. But it's been good. So baseball is now stepping up even bigger in African-American communities. Hopefully we see more and more young brothers playing the game of baseball because they feel left out, especially with basketball, with LeBron and football, you know, with Russell Wilson and those guys with the commercials. They feel they gravitate to that, and baseball have none of that. So I've seen it, but now we're growing. Like I said before, it took the senseless killings this year to open our eyes, but we're here now. So, yeah.
Thank you.
That was good.
Yeah.
Being in my position, it's a difficult position because not only as a band director do you experience it as a person, but you also witness kids go through it, and that's the most devastating part. How, you know, when we go to certain games and we're a predominantly black band, we have over 200 students in our band, and we're pretty diverse, more so than we've been in the past. But it's always a concern to me what's going to happen to these kids after they leave a football game. What's going to happen to these kids when we send them to the concession stand and we're in this city or that city? I'm not going to call any names. You know, we went to certain band competitions and we're already scored before we even played our first note because of the color of our skin. And the fact that children have to endure that, the fact that children have to go through that, was very challenging for me as a director, because my question to me is, I'm a young black man, but I also have white students. I have Hispanics. I have students of other races who are on the band. How do I explain this to a group of students who are of different races about a particular race that is consistently being bothered at games, a particular race where when they see a bunch of black kids walk up, they hide their money boxes at the concession stand like these kids are going to rob them, or they move the money box from the gate and have us go to this way or go that way. And a lot of people don't believe the many things that happen. And the crazy thing is the kids never noticed it. They never noticed it. We marched in a parade one time. And while the kids were marching, they were flashing lasers on the kids, putting lasers. So immediately we go and we surround the students and we surround all the kids and everybody that was marching in the front and marching in the back, because we didn't know if somebody was trying to, you know, aim at us, or we didn't know what the deal was. Of course, somebody was playing around with lasers. But the fact of the matter is there was another band that was predominantly another color behind us, and they experienced no problems. So that's what I deal with on my job. You know, we received those questions. You know, when George Floyd was killed, I got questioned the next day. And I also had other students who were not my color saying, Mr. Johnson, if I ever treated you wrong, I apologize. Mr. Johnson, you know, we never knew how you guys really felt. We never knew how this was. We never knew how that was. And it was causing arguments, you know. Kids were arguing in the classroom. Kids were arguing about this election. It's been causing a lot of arguments. And so I deal with it on a daily basis. I deal with it as a young black man with a band that's large, that has one of the largest bands in the state of South Carolina. You have band directors who have died and retired trying to get a band of over 130, 140 kids and have never achieved that. So you can only imagine what I've encountered in this particular entity.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you.
How many people are on your band?
Right now we have 225.
A heap of.
That's in.
You all won the band competition in Dylan.
Correct.
Yeah, it was, you have a good band.
Tanya, our band don't lose. We compete against
Okay,
anybody.
Marlboro County's band is coming.
Our band
We
don't
coming
lose.
back, we coming back,
Our
okay?
band too good to lose.
All right, just stay right there. But you all are excellent. God is good because I've been a reporter now. It'll be 25 years in July.
Wow.
And thank God, praise the Lord, I have not experienced racism within my job or even as a reporter.
Oh, wow.
I just haven't. You know, we would sit around and talk about it sometimes, you know, at home with my parents. And when I first started reporting, I just never experienced it. I would always pray before I got to a tough story.
Good. That's awesome.
And I just say, you know, God just gave me favor. You know, I don't know why. You know, I've done nothing so great, you know, compared to anybody else up here. But I just have not experienced. I've heard from other reporters about things they've gone through, but I haven't. I've experienced racism, you know, by shopping in a mall or something, and somebody, you know, following me around in the store, you know, stuff like that. When I was in college and working for a newspaper, and you know, I was treated differently than I noticed some of the other girls from the other bigger schools, but not since
Not
I've been
in
a
your
television
job.
reporter. I haven't, and I'm just so thankful.
That is
People have
that's
been
wonderful.
Yes, people have been welcoming to me. My tipsters come in all shades. If you got a tip, I'll take it. And I've just been fortunate on that end.
Oh, wonderful.
I've covered lots of stories where people have been mistreated now. But I have never, praise the Lord, been in that position as of now. I don't know what's going to happen when I leave here.
It's going to stay just like that.
I
That's
hope
what's going to
so.
happen. Well, thank you all so much for answering that question in particular, because I think when you're in college and you're looking at going into a job, and you know, and you experience discrimination, and you experience maybe racism as a college student on campus or out in the world and in high school, but it's different. It's a different story when you have to go to a place of work,
Absolutely.
and that's how you make your money.
Yeah.
And you got to pay bills, and you got family to take care of. How do you manage that
Absolutely.
when you know, you can't just up and quit?
Right.
You got to be able to stick with it. So thank you so much for your answers and your anecdotes. It was wonderful to hear them.
Absolutely.
So we're going to move on to number 3. How do you use your platform to speak out against injustices in society? And any of you can answer it in any order. We don't have to keep going in the order we've been going in. However, whoever feels ready to jump in.
I'll say, I tell my kids all the time, success is the best revenge. You know, anytime you're mistreated, you don't have to always respond to somebody with a curse word. You don't have to respond by picking up a gun. You don't have to respond by scheduling to jump somebody. You don't have to respond by cyberbullying on Facebook or the media. Your success is the best revenge out there. You don't know how much hurt your haters receive when you become successful and they're still in the same position where they were when you were on the road to success.
Right.
I never forget when I was in college, and we had performed at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, and we came back. When I got back home, my home was always, Darlington was always welcoming. I'm sure Orlando can say the same thing. Darlington is one hometown that will cheer you on. And when I came home, I went to McDonald's. I used to work at McDonald's when I was in high school. And the manager at McDonald's looked at me and she said, "Hey, Brandon, you remember I fired you?" In front of a store full of people.
Wow.
So she said, "Hey, Brandon, you remember I fired you?" I said, "Yeah, well, now you're taking my order."
Yeah.
And so I didn't see the point to go off on her or retaliate in her in a manner that would cause more harm to me than it would have if I didn't. And so I often tell people that I use my job to let other people know who are like me, other people who look like me, other people who act like me, who are goofy like me. And I want people to understand, and when I say look like me, I'm not talking about the color of my skin, but I'm talking about the color of my character.
Amen.
There are white people who are band directors and great band directors and good with black kids. There are Hispanic people who are band directors and great band directors and are good with black kids and white kids. So I want to create more people who are the color of my character, not necessarily the color of my skin. I can't help who you came out to be.
Exactly.
I did not make the decision to be a black man, but I'm a proud one. And while I am a proud one, I tell people all the time, well, y'all rob us. And this is what I hear. Y'all rob us. Y'all do this to us. Y'all do that to us. I said, you can't say y'all. Yes, every race has terrible representatives.
Every one of them.
But I am a great black man, and I stand strong for my society and where I came from. And that's how I use my job to better showcase and demonstrate to go against the racial discrimination, sexism, and any other form of discrimination that is out there.
Success is the best revenge, yes.
That was good. And so your band played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers too?
Bethune-Cookman, college band.
Our high school band came too. We good.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Tanya, we are real
We
good.
need a couple more
Well,
stimulus checks.
The
but we'll
band
get
could
there.
have used you all last night. Well, the Tampa Bay could have used
Yeah.
you all. Didn't they lose, was it 35-0?
Yeah,
And
bad,
Tom Brady
38-3.
just interception after interception.
I'm not going to talk about football because I'm a Dallas fan. So.
I am too, Tanya. Our band is
terrible.
really
Terrible.
good.
Somebody, we got
Terrible.
somebody.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. You better go for Tom Brady now. But as I was, listening to the question, I thought about something that I meant to add to the last question. In 2002, I was in the newsroom doing some work, and I got a call from a member of the KKK. And he wanted me, they were trying to host a parade in Florence, downtown Florence, and they wanted to give me an exclusive interview. So that, when I told you that I haven't experienced anything, and I was supposed to meet with him, but in the end, they decided not to hold the interview. But I felt like, wow, they either think that I'm a good reporter or something, let me go do this interview. But it never got to that point. But, they trusted me enough, or I don't know, for some reason they wanted me to do.
They thought you would be fair in your reporting.
I hope they thought I would be fair. Yes, yes. So that was another example of where I don't think I experienced it. But to answer your question a second ago, when I saw Mr. Jackson here, his daughter Arthenius is a friend of mine. And in my line of work, I just try to do my job that other people will either want to do it or respect me for what I do. And when I bring up his daughter, I met her years ago, excellent singer, beautiful girl. I just was hoping that she would see something in me, young black girl, that she would want to emulate. Whether she doesn't have to be a reporter. She can go out and be a teacher. She can go out to be a lawyer, but just be the best lawyer teacher that she can be. In my job, I have to be straight of the line. I can't go this way, I can't go. I have to be balanced and fair. So I try to bring that, but I try to let my light so shine so that men can see my good works and want to do well in life. Pastor, I read that you're a pastor on here too.
Yeah, he is.
So
Only on the weekends.
that's how I use my platform. I also try. A lot of times I go to courtrooms and I see boys, black boys, and it makes me cry all the time. I see them, some of them I know, some of them I grew up with, some of them, I see their children now. A friend of mine, her son is charged with a very serious crime. So you try to talk to them before they get there.
Absolutely.
So I try to go to the churches and talk to them before they get to that level, because once they hit a certain level, it's hard. It's hard to get out of it. So that's how I try to use my platform.
Beautiful, thank you.
Well, I try to use my platform. I got to be careful how I say that, because I got my mom, my dad, and my goddaughter sitting back there, so they know how I get to talking. They already told me, don't go on the stage talking crazy in front of these good people. So I got to be careful. I got to kind of bring my answer down a little bit, because I don't like to sugarcoat anything. But I use my platform, and I've been blessed enough to play at a high level that everyone wants to get at, whether it's MLB, whether it's NBA, NFL. I got great NFL friends, a lot of NBA friends, friends in the movie industry and all that, So I use my platform because I hear kids say all the time, and I hear especially our African-American little brothers, they want to say, well, I want to go play a professional sport. That's a small number. That's a very, very slim number. So when I speak to them, I ask them, how are their grades first? That's the first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Because they want to see grades, right?
Yes.
So I say, how are your grades? Oh, my grades is okay. Well, what college you want to go to? the first thing they say, I want to go to Clemson football. Like, if I play basketball, I want to go to Duke. If I play baseball, I want to go to South Carolina. Like, you know what? You got to have grades, though. But at the same time, when they see me, they see success, but they only see the end product of it. They didn't see the effort that my mom stayed with me in the classroom sometimes, had to get the switch out sometimes, and they didn't see the part where my mom took me off the basketball court or the football field, the baseball field for me to study or write a paper while my dad working 12-hour days. They didn't see that part. So at the same time, I tell them, I use my platform now. I've been blessed enough to make it, so now I can get into places like with the upper echelons of the Lindsey Grahams and and those guys of the government masters and sit and have a conversation with them. So now, since I'm in that position, now I can say some things and ask some things, not just because of what we've been going through, because we do have some unbelievable, Caucasian brothers and sisters. We do. Yeah. Everybody are not bad. Everybody's not hateful. Every police is not bad. Every black person don't rob. Every white person is not hatred. Right. Though the world presume it that way, and we see it because everything on the news right now is so negative. So we see it in that negative view. So now I get to sit in these places and sit with these guys and ask certain things, because a lot of these laws aren't for you and I. Just to be real with you, if we sit and look at it in depth, the laws are not built for you and I. But if we as a culture, if we as a people must come together and put together our votes the way we did and sit and talk about certain things with some of the other ethnic backgrounds and other ethnic groups, that we can accomplish some things in America. So my background, I use it as I've made it. Yeah. And it was a blessing that I made it. So now I'm going to use it for the will of, not for myself. I have children of my own, for your children, for yourself while you're in schools, for your children, grandchildren. That's what I sit there and fight for. Absolutely. And it shows. Ivy League schools, if we go to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, they come out with $150,000, $200,000 job, starting off with. We know if you go to South Carolina State, we know if you go to Howard, and you got to put your work in, because they look at the resume, automatically say, Ivy League. Don't know the child.
Absolutely.
Automatically hired. Well, Francis Marion, where Francis Marion? Oh, South Carolina. Okay, we'll put some work in, do this and that. That resume speaks volumes.
Yes. Yeah.
We have a lot of great people that came from HBCUs. Yes. Unbelievable people who doing great things. It's not about where you go. It's about how you carry yourself where you're at. Yes. It's about the work you put in where you at, because you can make yourself where you at. You can make the place you're in, you can make that just as great as an Ivy League school according to what you want to do here. So that's how I use my platform.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah. And actually, I'm going to go down to question number 6 on this list, because I feel like some of the things that you said actually leads into this question. What are some laws or pieces of legislation that you think Congress should pass to make inclusive workplaces?
Well, don't get me started. Y'all run me out of here. Go ahead, Tanya. Brandon, go ahead.
I had to think about it.
These are some deep questions, aren't they?
What are some laws or pieces of legislation that
you think Congress should pass?
Lord have mercy.
To make inclusive workplaces.
Inclusive for everybody.
Inclusive for everybody. There was no qualifier.
First of all, let me say this. We have a lot of qualified African Americans for big time jobs.
Yes.
I'm talking about qualified. We have people in high positions that don't look like us, that's not even qualified. It's about who they know. We have to get every degree possible to even get a chance for them to look at us. That's something that we have to change. That starts not with the president. That starts with the smaller, the mayors, the senators, all that plays a part in it, because they didn't want to write up these laws and then they put it up, right? We have to figure out a way. I'm trying to say it politically correct now, so don't get me started. We have to. My parent, I know my daddy, he ready to get on me as soon as I leave here, because you know I'm gonna say something. We have to be careful. We have to literally, when it's voting time, we have to literally look at the smaller people We don't have to always look at the upper echelon, the president. We have to start right around here in our local places because we have a great business at Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all those big high-paying six-figure jobs right down the road from us. It's not too far.
That's right, it's hard to believe.
Not too far. We have a few of them. But our resume have to be outstanding for us to even get looked at. It's shameful that when we know we deserve a job, when we know there are certain laws against us, and there are some, I just don't want to yell out too many. I know that's what you really want for me to say. I know you do.
I don't have any agenda. Whatever you want to
Okay,
say
I
is
know
fine
it.
with me.
But we are not looked at as we are deserving of a high-paying job. We never have been. We never have been to looked at as a leader of a company, of a corporation, or any kind of founder of anything. We've never been. We always been, especially African-American men, we always been third-class citizens. It's taken 3 of us now to make one man, that 3/5 Amendment. So we can't forget that. We've come quite a little bit since the late great MLK said his great speech. We probably moved 5 yards, if that. So we still have a long way to go. Now, as African American men, since we know the system is not for you and I, and we see that our African American beautiful sisters are steady striving higher, we as men, instead of pulling them down, we as men should be pushing them forward.
Right.
As men, to push them up so when they get there, they can also reach back and grab some of us.
Amen.
But at the same time, it's going to take time, it's going to take prayer, it's going to take pushing and loving and caring for each other, especially when we know it's not for us. But when we see them steady striving,
Right.
that's a reason for us to say, you know what? Let's somehow keep pushing them forward because they're going to eventually have to reach back to get help to get them to the next level. And then now you are in the same place they're in.
I'm going
Go
to
ahead.
interject just real quick.
Go ahead.
Did either one of you guys want to answer that question as well? Because it was leading me to a different one I want to ask, but I want to see first.
It's all on you, moderator.
It's all on me, moderator?
All on
God, I
you,
have the
Yeah,
power.
I just wanted to say that
Yes.
the Civil Rights Act of, maybe they can strengthen the Civil Rights Act of
Yes.
1964, which is supposed to make sure that people are, that you're not discriminated against because, you want to apply for a job. So,
Right.
and I'll need to look that up because I don't want to speak on something that I don't
The
know.
13th Amendment, too.
They and,
Right.
and
Yes.
they're actually, I'm not sure if they passed it or not, but they're in the process of creating called the Jobs for All Act, where they were putting funding together in order to help businesses be able to employ people, make sure they're able to fill up their facilities. But to me, the issue is not the funding because there's still going to be an issue when you give issue to fund to hire. Because the issue still is, I have to be hired, like my brother Orlando said.
Yeah.
We have to be hired. And I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna go on with you, but you're valuable.
Very valuable.
You're talented. But I tell people all the time, and I tell the band this: talent without education is false advertisement.
Yes.
You can be as gifted as the day is long. But if you don't have the education, do you know how many people take advantage of us because we got the talent to build houses, but we don't have the certification? We have the talent to raise cows. We have the talent to paint, but we don't have the certification. So now we have to settle because we're not certified.
Right.
And so I just wanted to make mention with that. But the Jobs for All Act is great. Yes, we all need funding, but what good is the funding going to do if you're not going to hire us?
Exactly.
So, and actually, all this just led to the question I wanted to ask. And, during Reconstruction, there were flourishing black communities,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
right? We had banks, we had Black Wall Street
Oof.
in multiple places, right?
Yes.
So if that ingenuity and that creativity was there, so close after the ending of slavery, we're how many years from slavery? Why does that creativity is still there, right? That ingenuity is still there. So why wait to be hired and just create
You
the
can just-
jobs?
Absolutely.
So I feel like, sometimes when we get caught up in the rat race trying to catch up, when actually the ingenuity and the creativity is already within the community, and then the community can be the one to create the space that is open to everyone. Sometimes to change it, you have to do it yourself. That's just my thought. And so I just wanted to put this to you, and I think this is my last question, right? Yes, okay. And so this was my question is, what are your thoughts on creating jobs that are Black owned? That doesn't mean, that is open to everyone in the way that, right now, the way that the businesses are set up, affirmative action obviously isn't working.
No.
Right? So what do you think of this idea of creating our own jobs?
It does. It sounds really good, and we got some high, powerful African American people that are doing some great things. But like I think the Pledge of Allegiance, it says equal and indivisible justice for all. We don't see that. I don't think that the wealthy, and it has been going on, we can't deny it, the wealthy white America don't want to see Black America equal to them. It's never been that way. So it seems like they can't hire us because they don't want us equal. But even though the speech says that equal, it's not equal. Now, we know that this country been built on, it's been stolen, it's been built by us, you know. But now we need the white folks who think the same way that we think and see actually the same way that we see it to go in with us and help us get that jobs for all to going. If they let us do it by ourselves and we do it, somehow, some law will get passed that will get knocked down, you know?
Right.
And that's just the way America is. So we need the good white folks with money that actually see the same ideas that we see. Forget the nonsense. And we're not saying forget slavery because we seen it. We didn't see it, we know about it. Our grandparents, our foreparents been in it, so we understand that part, right? But for them to see the same way that we see that we have been so pushed back, and don't get me wrong, our Black community, yes, we do have problems. We can't deny that, we see that. But we were also pushed into a corner that forced us to be the way that we are now. So we get together and put that together. I think as a people, Black and white, we can make jobs for us. For African Americans, for Mexicans, for the other minorities. Yes, we can.
Just to add to it, and I'll be quick, just to add to what Orlando was saying, you know, he was saying that we can get together and work together, and then Mr. Johnson said something that was good too. He said that you have to have the education. You know, I know a lot of people that want to start, but they don't have everything that it takes to do it. So I think if you really want to start a business, you've got to work it. There's a great story I did about 4 or 5 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, about a guy in Florence who was a Black man, and he really had a vision to open a business because he wanted to give back to his community. He wanted to put jobs in his community. Well, he worked really hard. He got together a marketing plan, but he didn't have the funding for it. Well, he got with some people in the city of Florence, and there was some grant money, some seed money to help. And they said, you got to fine tune your plan. We want you to go to FMU. He went to the partnership with FMU, that incubator downtown, worked that, and that plan flourished into a business. So but it didn't happen for him overnight. I can't just go open my nail salon tomorrow.
Right.
It happened for him. It was like maybe a 2-year process, but it worked. He got with people who believed in him, and it worked. What you were saying.
That's a wonderful example. Thank you.
Yeah.
And did you want to add something before we close this part?
Sure.
And then they're going to have questions they're going to ask.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to be real quick.
Yeah.
We got to come together. We have to come together. Does everybody know what a chord is? A musical chord? Do you know that a musical chord cannot be created unless there are different notes in that chord? But each of those different notes playing at the same time, coming together, will create a beautiful sound. And, you know, and I'm just using a metaphor here, you know, the sound and the music in our communities is raggedy because the notes aren't working together. They're clashing. It's not a good noise that we want to hear and dissect. Frederick Douglass once said a great thing. He said, the only justification for looking down on a man is if you're looking down in order to pick him up. And I think that we waste so much time looking down just to criticize instead of looking down and, hey, let me help you up, you know? Let me do this, let me do that. I love my black community, and I love them with all my heart. But when we speak of our younger generation, and I'm talking about all races, we don't like to see each other succeed. No. You know, if she got a BMW, let me go get me a BMW. If he got a house, let me go get me a new house. We don't like to see each other succeed. So I do believe that if we would come together, if y'all think about those boycotts back in the day, when they boycotted, those communities lost money when those blacks did not invest. When they stopped paying for the buses, when they stopped going to certain grocery stores, when they started going to certain restaurants, they lost money. And colleges, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, but where I went, SGA was suffering. The Royal Court was suffering. I was Mr. BCU. Certain communities were suffering. Certain cities were suffering because there was just such a division. There's a building in Orlando, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be quiet. There's a building in Orlando that has been worked on. I'm not sure if y'all probably seen it. It's a huge glass building. As soon as you get in Orlando, they cannot finish that building for nothing because they have the money in the bank, but they just can't come together to see what in the world they want the building to be, what do they want to furnish it with, what the CEO wants to do. So a lot of us have a lot of unfinished business, unfinished buildings, unfinished relationships, unfinished promotions because we can't come together. And that's my portion on the Reconstruction.
Very wonderful. Thank you guys so much. So I think we will now have questions from the audience, and I don't know who's coming up to do that. Yeah, you are.
Can we give Professor Ellis another round of applause for doing a wonderful job? Now we would like to allude time to the audience to ask questions to the panelists. We ask that you walk down the aisle directly in front of panelist Johnson. Ask your question at the mic. Allow them to answer it, then depart to either your left or your right, back to your seat.
That's Kyle. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Oh, is it working?
No, you can't hear.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kyra Wilson. This question is for Mr. Hudson. I read something over the summer about something like an interview that you did, and you said something to the extent of you think that we probably lost our identity as a black culture. Would you like to elaborate on that for me, please, sir?
I definitely will. Here we go, Mom and Dad. You knew it was coming.
I look at them.
We did, when I say lost our identity, I'm talking as in not as a black people, but getting caught up in the worldly ways of other ethnic backgrounds that God didn't bless us to be. We are beautiful people. We are very smart people. To me, we're the smartest people on this earth. We the one that built this country. We the one that do things without education, although we need education to do things. We lost prayer. But grandma never made it on prayer. We try to make it on other things or other entities that this world brings to us. Grandma and them prayed for us to be in this position that we in, and now we lost that. So when I say we lost our identity, I'm not talking about we lost the skin color, because I'm just like you. So I'm not saying that. We lost the things that grandma and them prayed about for us to have, and we lost that value and the things, the morals that grandma and them set before us for us to continue. So that's what I was saying.
Okay. And I was there, they wrote that article right after that event at the church.
Yeah.
I was there that night. I covered the same story. I did not leave with that.
I know. Just people got to sell
My
papers.
story was totally different from what was put out there. That was not the message
I know.
that he was trying to convey. You know, we had two different, it was two different media there. We had two different stories.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Thank y'all so much.
You're welcome, sweetie.
and your name sells papers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Tiara.
I just want to know y'all thoughts, like on the election and like our new vice president.
First of all, your hair is so pretty.
Thank you.
Very pretty. AKA, I see your shirt. I never got a chance to interview Vice President-elect Harris, but I would always miss her. Like, I would get to a place and she had just left, but excitement, excitement for her, for Black women, for women in general.
I'm very excited about it, considering my wife is an AKA. I like the swag that she's bringing to the White House. She likes hip hop. She's not trying to change herself for a political gain, and I love that about her. I was speaking. I love how she's so elegant, but yet demanding. I love how she can stand on a stage and still let her hair hang down, still put on some high-inch heels. I love that about her. I love that she's being herself. But one thing I like the most is that I can only imagine what she had to put up with in that position. But she slapped sexism in the face. And now she is in a position where you didn't want to hire the woman. Now you got to listen. Now you got to listen to the woman. So I love that about. I'm excited about that, definitely.
I'm very happy. First of all, I think she's from Oakland, California. She's from straight from the hood, which should give every one of us hope that we can do big things too. Don't let your position, your situation, where you from, what your mama got 8 kids, daddy did this, grandma never said this, my teacher said I don't count. What color? It don't matter. We should not let that deter us, because if we want it, we got to go get it. And she did it.
She did it. She did it.
Yes, she did.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kara Rice. I have a question on colorism. I want to know, how do you think we could solve colorism in Black communities?
Did you say colorism?
Yes, sir.
You mean the different shades in Black communities?
Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, I'm glad you brought a phenomenal question, because I wanted to say something earlier to that.
You go first.
And I know we all watch TV, and when we watch TV and we see commercials, we see real light-skinned African-American women. And then you see the real light-skinned child with it. We rarely, now they're starting to put a more darker tone of the beautiful, the African-American women, like my color, I'm a little dark, so that is what it is. So now they're starting to put, and it's so beautiful now that you can see the light skin, the yellow bone, the red bone, the dark skin, the caramel, the brown sugar, it all, and it's so much, and you see it, and I'm like, it's unbelievable. There is no reason for us to be angry about anything when God blessed us to have 10 shades of beautiful ebony sisters. It's amazing. And to be honest with you, every other race wants to look like us. They stay in the salons to get lips, cheeks, and beyond. But, and it's nothing against them. They're human. They're still God's children too. But he actually, let's think about it. Let's take a look back. And I want you to look at ourselves in the mirror. And to be honest with you, we got some here. I mean, look at you, look at you, look at you. We got different shades in here, the same thing. And it's just phenomenal. So every day you sisters wake up, you should smile, regardless of what the world says about you, regardless.
I just to, expound upon what Orlando says, it exists, and it's terrible.
It is.
It is terrible. I have a cousin who was raised with me, a first cousin, and she's darker, and I see what she goes through, and I see how she's treated, and it hurts. But the worst part is that sometimes she's treated that way by people in my own family.
Yep.
In my own family. And it hurts because if we don't love ourselves and the many different shades of ourselves as Black people and to treat each other right, we can't expect other people to do it.
Exactly.
And it truly bothers me because she's 26, and I know, I can tell by the way she acts that it's a problem for her. And you try to tell her, we love you, we love you, we love you. You cannot let that stop you. Keep going, keep going. But sometimes when people in your own family mistreat you because you don't look like the other people in the family, it just brings you down.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to start with us in our own community, loving each other, like he was saying. You should wake up. What did you
Every
say?
day. Sweetheart, you're just as beautiful as ever. Don't let that deter anything. I'm glad you asked that question. That's an awesome question. Awesome.
Thank you.
Do I answer?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Keep going.
Excuse my French, please. Anybody that is racist, and please, and I hope I'm not calling anyone out, but if you are racist or biased in regards to someone's color or shade of color, you're an idiot because it's a science.
Yeah.
It's a science. When you talk about the amount of, I think the term is melanin that's produced in your skin, you know, I watch some movies, I'm like, that's a Black girl. Then I go and research, like, oh no, she's white. Like, oh no, that's a white woman. Then I go research, like, oh, she's Black. It's a science. It's really a science. And one thing that I tell people all the time who deal with colorism, because I've heard girls say, I only date chocolate men.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. One
Yeah,
girl told
yeah.
me in college, like, I like light-skinned boys. I said, well, his GPA 1.8. I got
Yeah.
3.5. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, girl.
Yeah, they played
Come
out.
on, girl. So one thing I tell people all the time, people can sense insecurity.
Yes.
So if you already walk in a room or in an interview or walk in with family and you already have some sense of insecure about your hair, your sense of insecure about your color, your sense of insecure about your weight, they will sense that, and that's what they will ride on.
Yep.
I told somebody one time, I said, stop openly abusing the Black community, because what we're doing, we're giving other people ammunition and more bullets to fire at us when we can do it in an even more discreet manner. And the same thing with any other race and color. And so there are issues about me that I will never let you know. There are some insecurities about me that you will never know about. I'm insecure right now being on this camera about something about me, but I dare not reflect it because I'm not going to give anybody ammunition to fire at me later on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. So it's a science. And anybody who is racist or anybody who dwells on the color or the shade of somebody's skin shows their true ignorance. Shows their true ignorance. So for those of you on camera or hear my voice, be racist all you want. Be, prejudiced as far as color all you want. But it shows us the form of education, the form of raising, the form of background that you really have. And those are the people that we should not hire. Ignorance, not the people who are proud of who they are.
And for people who don't know what colorism is, I just looked it up because it's not just within our community. It's within other communities too. I covered a story. First of all, the textbook definition says prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. But I can tell you, I covered a story with some Native Americans, and it exists there too.
Absolutely.
In fact, I was working with the story, and it was a tribe, and the tribal leader said he was discriminated against because he was of darker tone than the other members of the tribe. So it's just not within
I've seen it in the white community
African-Americans.
too. I've seen
Yeah.
it. The pale, the lighter white, the paler. They would discriminate against the ones that had the tan, that looked like, they tried to look like they almost light-skinned sister. They was like, ugh, she just don't look right. Like, how can you just say that about somebody? So I've seen it in the white community too. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But everybody, be yourself. Everybody else is taken.
That's right.
Be
That's right.
yourself.
Yeah.
That's right.
Brendan Johnson is taken. Baby, you taken. Y'all taken. Be yourself. Don't try to duplicate yourself to be somebody else.
Yeah, great question, sweetheart.
Great question.
Thank you.
Yo.
So my question is, do you think, regardless of your true character at work, is seen as an intimidating presence? Like just by walking in a room, people are just shook?
Not by me. I mean, I don't know. Most people think I'm a joke half the time. I'm kidding, but I don't think so by me. I hope I'm not.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe to some kindergartners, yeah.
Yes.
We
They might be scared. 'cause I
we
really
already
think
looked at
serious.
as intimidating people anyway. You know, you see people clutch purses when we walk in the malls. You see people start to side eyes when we certain places. They feel like we are. Sometimes we look at as animals. You know, sad. That's just the way it is. But that's first of all. You know, Jesus gave all these commandments,
Yes,
and the first one he said is love.
love.
And the first thing we do is judge.
Mm.
This dude said the first commandment is love.
That's right.
The first thing we do is judge.
Absolutely.
I know some guys with dreads who got 4.0 GPAs.
Absolutely.
Amen.
I know some guys that wear Dockers and Tommy Hilfiger shirts that can't spell their name.
Absolutely.
I know some guys with dreads that can build this campus by himself. I know some guys with Dockers and Tommy Hilfiger shirt that can't even sit in the junior college classroom. That's sitting in a corporate seat right now as the president of unbelievable business. So yes, we are discriminated upon. When we walk in a room, we are looked at as, okay, he looks nice, he looks the part, but let me test him to see how far he can go before I even sense of giving him a chance, or opportunity at this job.
Absolutely.
We get that. But that's not for a reason for us to hold our heads down. We still got to walk in with our head held high,
That's right.
regardless of how they, because we already know how we looked at. So why even hold our head down or not even entertain ourselves to go apply for a job because we automatically think, well, we're not going to get in because I know how they look at, how they view me.
Absolutely.
Don't let that change you. But yes, you are looked upon as a threat. You are a threat. A smart, intelligent, handsome black man, good-looking ebony woman is a threat to the world already because we're smart.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
I know where I am right now. A lot of teachers, and I pray they're not watching tonight, but a lot of teachers are often intimidated by me by the stories they hear from the kids. That's number one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Johnson don't play. Mr. Johnson called me this. Mr. Johnson made me run from here to Sitco. Mr. Johnson so they hear a lot of those things from the kids. And one thing about me as a teacher, you know, if a child is in trouble, you know, I'll do whatever I can to rectify that situation. But at the same time, you know, if a teacher's not great in work, if a teacher is constantly giving this child a 0 and see that this child is consistently failing, is not reaching out to a parent saying, hey, Johnny needs some attention here. Hey, you know, Johnny, do you have any questions? Can you come after school? And so a lot of times I deal with those particular situations. So they hear those stories often about me. It is, thankfully, my reputation has allowed me to walk in certain areas and say, oh, that's Goofy Brandon. Oh, that's Lee Bell grandson. Oh, that Randolph son. Oh, that Maryland boy, you know. But there have been times where I've been on national platforms and I've been stared at, you know, because, you know, I'm a Kappa, so, you know, we like to be fancy. You know, we got to, you know, this blazer hot, but it look good. You know? So we like to be fancy. So a lot of people are like, oh, he got a dress code. Oh, this is business attire. You have on a royal blue suit. This is that. But then when you start speaking, when you start expressing your knowledge and understanding, and I will say that one thing that I commend that anybody do, anytime you walk up in a venue and the fear has come upon somebody because of your appearance, show otherwise. Don't be distant. Don't be ducked off. Don't stay away. Do not shake their hand. Do not look at them. You know, hey, Brenda Johnson, man, what's going on? Man, how about those Dallas Cowboys? Because everybody has some trash to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. So that's always my spark right there. How about
Sure
the Dallas
is.
Cowboys? You a Dallas fan? Man, come on.
Facts.
And you know what happens after that? And that's what I tell a lot of people all the time. Networking develops.
Yes, sir.
The house I have, the mortgage is so low because of networking. I have a Mercedes-Benz that I brought for my wife. I work for Darlington County. I'm a teacher. I can't afford a Mercedes-Benz, but my network. Hey, man, you that band, you play for our grand opening. I'm going to take $15,000 off. Me? Hey, man, I saw you. You was over here. You helped my daughter out. You taught this person. You taught that person. So you never know who you come encounter with. You never know the atmosphere that you're walking in. But don't proceed. If they fear you, change it. I'm your friend. I'm your friend. Thank you.
Thank you all.
You call it networking, and that's true, but I call it God's favor.
Yeah. Can I add one
That's
more thing to that?
That's favor now.
Y'all know, you guys,
And
everybody
it's
know
not
Magic
fair.
Johnson, right? You know, Magic Johnson is a Hall of Fame basketball player. Had a chance to meet Magic, talk to Magic. Magic told me many things. He said one thing in basketball. He said when he played basketball, when he was looking at courtside, he was trying to figure out all the businessmen, shake their hands, come in contact with them, get to know them because he knew he was going to need them at the end of his basketball career because basketball didn't last forever. Now he's worth about $1 billion.
That's right. And
Network. Have to.
And he's got a foundation and
Oh.
he gives back too.
Oh, gives back like crazy. Gets to give millions because he's worth about $1 billion. Yeah. Yeah. Networking.
I'll take it.
He gave about
He gave South Carolina State what?
yeah.
5, 6
But he
million?
also gave to Marlboro County.
Marlboro
but when
County.
he came, he didn't want any news coverage.
Exactly.
No news coverage.
No news coverage.
And
Just
so
do his thing.
my little cousin Caleb, he was probably 4 at the time, and he said, a giant came to my school today. And I said, who was the giant? And he said, Irvin. I said, Irvin who? He said, Irvin Magic. I was like, oh, that's good. But then his mother showed me a picture, and I was like, wow, it was Magic Johnson.
Magic
He
Johnson.
gave the school computers.
Yes.
Wow.
He do a lot.
Yeah,
that
and he
they don't
actually
even know
came
about.
to
Marlboro
came to that county.
Wow. Nice. Nice.
Let's give our panelists a big round of applause, please. We'll now have a special presentation by SGA Secretary Kiana Jordan.
To the young man, nice suit.
Yeah.
See,
very
they
nice
would be
suit.
intimidated by your suit. That's nice. You look so nice.
But then when you speak, they're going to say, oh, you speak intelligent. Don't get offended. Just keep talking. Don't get
talking.
offended.
Yeah.
Keep your cool.
That's big. That's big.
That's big. Yeah. Keep your cool. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kiana Jordan, and I'm the SGA Secretary. And on behalf of SGA, we would like to thank our panelists. You guys did a phenomenal job tonight.
Thank you.
We thank you guys for coming out and sharing y'all's experience, wisdom, and knowledge with us. And to show our appreciation, we want to give you guys each a gift. So I'm just going to
Oh, let me go and get that check. Thank you, FMU, for writing this check. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kiana. Kiana is my little shadow and my little intern. She's so sweet.
Thank you, Kiana. That's this bag kind of big to be having a check.
Thank you. I hope my station will hire her too. Columbia? And we got
Hello, everyone. My name is Delonte Huff, and I proudly serve Francis Marion University as the Student Body Vice President. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. First of all, thank you to our wonderful panelists for coming and being a part of this event. Thank you to the Dean of Students and everyone in that office who allowed us to have the event. Thank you, Mr. President, for not saying no, Ty Robinson. And again, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and this pretty much concludes our event.